Too late, the council pressed the button. Humans were gone before it began. The council chamber was larger than any building on Earth. Its walls were smooth and shimmering, reflecting colors that seemed to shift with the thoughts of those inside. Hundreds of delegates from dozens of star systems filled the circular room. Each representative came from a world older, wiser, and more advanced than any human planet. They had technologies that could bend space, manipulate energy, and predict the smallest chance of danger. Yet here they were, worried about a species they had only just discovered: humans. At the center of the chamber, a large holographic screen displayed images of Earth. Oceans shimmered under sunlight, clouds drifted lazily across the continents, and cities dotted the land like tiny glowing stars. From this distance, humans looked fragile, almost insignificant. Yet that very fragility sparked fear in the hearts of the council members. Dr. Cairo, a tall, silver-skinned scientist with eyes like liquid sapphire, stood before the council. He moved with calm authority, his voice carrying through the chamber like a gentle warning. "Council members," he began, "I understand your concern. Humans are small and seemingly weak, but I must caution you, we know too little about them. Underestimated species can become the most dangerous." A murmur of agreement passed through some corners, but the majority scoffed. "Dangerous?" said Ambassador Trivon from the Andari system. His voice was sharp, full of authority. "They cannot even control their weather, let alone develop interstellar travel. We have machines that calculate outcomes for centuries. Humans are predictable, weak, harmless." Cairo's eyes glinted. "Harmless perhaps now, but every species evolves. Every species adapts. Humans are unique. Their creativity, emotional intelligence, and resilience may surpass anything we have seen. You think they are fragile, but fragility is deceptive." The council chamber erupted into chatter. Many aliens waved their tentacles or hands in dismissive gestures. "We cannot gamble on imagination and emotions," another voice shouted. "We deal in facts, probabilities, and control." Cairo took a slow breath. "Facts are not always enough. Probabilities assume you know all variables. And control," he paused, letting his words sink in, "control assumes there are no surprises. I assure you, humans can surprise even the most calculated minds." For a moment, silence fell. Then, as if rehearsed, the council voted to proceed. Plans were drawn to eliminate humans before they became a threat. A button, a device of ultimate destruction, was to be pressed. In their minds, it was a simple, clean solution. The pulse from the button would erase humanity before it could rise. No debate, no hesitation, just one click. Meanwhile, on Earth, life went on completely unaware. In a small town, children ran through a playground, laughing and chasing each other. In a laboratory far away, a young scientist named Amira adjusted a delicate instrument, unaware that alien eyes were observing every movement. On distant farms, crops swayed in the wind, while families enjoyed meals under the warm sun. Humans were living their simple, ordinary lives, lives that seemed fragile from afar. Back in the council chamber, Cairo pressed a hand to his chest. "I implore you, wait, observe, understand. This species is not what it appears to be." Ambassador Trivon leaned forward. "We have waited long enough. Observation takes centuries. Humanity will evolve in unpredictable ways if we delay. We cannot risk it. The button must be pressed." Cairo's heart sank. He knew the decision was final. He had tried to warn them, tried to present evidence, tried to show the subtle ways humans had overcome challenges that seemed impossible. But the council's fear of potential chaos overpowered reason. As discussions continued, Cairo slipped from the chamber. He returned to his personal observation deck, a quiet place where he could watch humans more closely without the judgment of others. From here, the cities, mountains, oceans, and forests of Earth were clear, alive with movement. Humans walked streets, built homes, created art, and solved problems every day. Cairo remembered one detail that the council had ignored. Humans thrived in adversity. On Earth, natural disasters had destroyed homes, yet humans rebuilt. Illness had claimed lives, yet humans continued to find cures. Wars had torn nations apart, yet humans continued to seek peace. Their strength was not in numbers or technology alone, but in determination and willpower, the very qualities the council could not measure. Far below, in the heart of a human city, Amira worked late in her lab. She adjusted wires, tested circuits, and scribbled notes in her journal. Something had caught her attention in recent months: strange disruptions in communication signals, minor anomalies in satellite data, and unexplainable patterns in weather. At first, she thought it was technical errors, but the patterns persisted. She could not shake the feeling that something beyond Earth was watching, influencing, or testing her planet. Amira glanced at the holographic projection on her desk. Numbers and graphs shifted in real time, showing anomalies she could not explain. Her heart raced. "It's not normal," she whispered to herself. "Something is coming." Meanwhile, on a remote farm, a boy named Lucas stared at the sky. The stars sparkled like tiny jewels, but he noticed something strange, a faint shimmer that did not belong. It danced and shifted in ways that no star should. He squinted, curious, and felt a strange mix of excitement and fear. "Am I imagining this?" he asked his sister. Life on Earth continued, yet small threads of destiny began to weave together. Humans were unaware of the council chamber far above them, unaware that decisions about their very existence were being made. They continued to create, explore, and live. Back in the chamber, the vote was finalized. The council pressed forward. The button was to be activated within the next cycle. Delegates celebrated, certain that humanity would vanish without a trace. Cairo, however, remained uneasy. He knew that humans were unpredictable. The pulse of destruction might not work as planned. And if he was right, the council would regret their actions. In his private quarters, Cairo began preparing. He collected notes, data, and observations about humans. He studied their biology, behavior, and history. He wrote down stories of survival, cities rebuilt after earthquakes, diseases eradicated, families reformed after war. He noted small inventions and leaps of ingenuity that seemed almost miraculous. Cairo realized something crucial. Humans' strength was not visible in statistics or reports. It was invisible, hidden in their creativity, hope, and will. Even a species appearing fragile could survive if it refused to be defeated. As the countdown approached, Cairo knew he could do little to stop the council. Yet he vowed silently, "If they erase humanity, I will watch, and I will record every miracle they achieve. They may be gone in body, but their spirit will never vanish." Meanwhile, on Earth, humans lived in ignorance of the peril approaching. In schools, students laughed and shared stories. In factories, workers built machines with dedication. In homes, families shared meals and stories, unaware that their planet was under observation. Their lives, ordinary yet extraordinary, went on. Some humans, like Amira and Luca, sensed something shifting. They could not name it, but they felt it, a subtle disturbance in the ordinary rhythm of life. They were curious, observant, and determined. Perhaps the universe had chosen these individuals to witness the coming storm, or perhaps their nature simply demanded that they notice what others did not. As night fell on Earth, city lights sparkled, rivers reflected moonlight, and the stars twinkled in the sky. Far above, in council chambers, delegates prepared to press the button. All seemed certain that humanity's end was near. Yet Cairo watched silently, holding a quiet hope that humans would survive. And deep within the hearts of Earth's people, life continued, ordinary, simple, yet filled with possibilities that no alien could predict. The council had decided. The button would be pressed soon. In the grand chamber, the delegates prepared the final mechanisms. Lights blinked, holographic panels displayed Earth from multiple angles, and a soft hum filled the air. To the aliens, this was a simple procedure, one that would erase humanity before it could grow beyond control. They were confident, certain that the plan was perfect. But on Earth, life continued unaware. The planet seemed peaceful, ordinary, almost too calm. Children played in open fields, laughing as they chased balls or each other. Farmers worked their lands, feeling the warmth of the sun on their backs. Engineers built machines, schools taught students, and families shared meals. Humans had no idea that far above, powerful beings were about to decide their fate. Among these humans, some noticed small changes. Satellites that usually functioned perfectly began to flicker. Radio signals hummed with strange interference. Communication systems lagged or briefly disappeared. Weather patterns shifted unpredictably. Storms that should have formed never came, while sunny days suddenly gave way to mist or wind. Amira, the young scientist, noticed these anomalies first. In her small lab, she adjusted instruments and reviewed data constantly. Numbers appeared that should have been impossible. Signals she monitored showed patterns, almost like a message hidden in the noise. She tapped at her keyboard furiously, running simulations, checking equations again and again. "Something is wrong," she muttered, staring at the screen. "It's not technical errors, it's deliberate. Something is affecting Earth." Her assistant, a student named Ravi, looked over her shoulder. "Deliberate? You mean aliens?" he asked, half joking. Amira didn't smile. "I don't know, but we are being watched, and soon something is going to happen." Meanwhile, Luca, the boy who had seen the strange shimmer in the sky, noticed more odd things. Birds seemed restless, flying in patterns he could not understand. Fish in the nearby river behaved strangely, jumping and darting without reason. Even the trees seemed to whisper with movement when no wind blew. Luca felt a shiver of unease but also a spark of excitement. Something big was coming, and somehow he was noticing it. Back in the council chamber, the countdown had begun. A large timer projected over the central floor, counting down the final cycles before activation. Delegates adjusted controls, checking calculations and murmuring in approval. For them, this was a simple, controlled operation. Humans would vanish quietly and completely with no risk of error. Dr. Cairo paced in his corner watching the timer. His eyes were sharp, alert, full of worry. He had warned them, pleaded for observation and patience, but the council had ignored him. He knew the button might not work as they expected. Humans were unpredictable. Their biology, their behavior, even their emotions might resist the device in ways the aliens could not imagine. Cairo whispered to himself, "You cannot measure determination. You cannot calculate hope. You cannot predict creativity. That is the flaw in your plan." On Earth, more humans began sensing the changes. In cities, people noticed lights flickering in unusual patterns. Screens in offices and homes showed brief static, sometimes forming shapes that looked almost like symbols. Trains and machines experienced small glitches. People were puzzled, some concerned, some dismissive. In her lab, Amira connected the dots. "It's not random," she said to Ravi. "The patterns are synchronized across the globe. Someone or something is testing us, and I think they are preparing for something bigger." Ravi frowned. "Bigger? You mean danger?" Amira nodded slowly. "Yes. And if we don't act fast, it could be catastrophic." Meanwhile, the council moved forward with the activation process. The delegates pressed buttons, adjusted dials, and monitored Earth from every angle. The device, invisible to human eyes, began emitting a subtle pulse. At first it was barely detectable, a soft hum spreading across the planet. But even in its first moments, something unexpected happened. On Earth, humans did not collapse, did not vanish. Life continued as usual, almost as if nothing had changed. Yet small miracles began to appear. Crops in remote areas grew faster than normal despite droughts. Machines self-repaired in factories. Sick children in hospitals began recovering at unprecedented rates. Amira noticed the anomalies immediately. Her instruments, which should have detected only interference, showed unusual energy patterns interacting with the Earth's natural fields. "This is impossible," she whispered. "The pulse, it's not killing us. It's doing something else." In a quiet countryside, Luca watched as a small stream, normally shallow, suddenly swelled with clear water, moving around obstacles as if it had a mind of its own. Animals that had seemed restless calmed, moving in perfect harmony. He rubbed his eyes, unsure if he was seeing reality or imagining it. Dr. Cairo observed these phenomena from afar. His heart lifted slightly, but he remained tense. "They are adapting," he said softly. "They are resisting in ways the Council never expected." The Council, unaware of these developments, continued monitoring, confident in their calculations. Yet the anomalies were growing. Humans began using their creativity and intelligence in unexpected ways. In cities, engineers fixed systems that should have failed under the pulse. In schools, students invented small devices that seemed to amplify energy and stabilize environments. People worked together instinctively, solving problems faster than any alien calculations could predict. Amira realized what was happening. "The pulse is triggering something inside humans," she said. "It's activating resilience, ingenuity, survival instincts we never fully understood." Ravi looked alarmed. "Are you saying the Council is making us stronger?" Amira nodded. "Yes. The very thing they feared, human potential, is emerging because of their own attack." Even ordinary humans began to notice subtle changes. Farmers discovered new ways to grow crops, engineers repaired broken machines without instructions, and children learned skills quickly, as if guided by instinct. Humanity's hidden potential, buried beneath ordinary lives, was awakening. Back in the council chamber, Cairo tried to warn the delegates. "They are not fragile. You underestimated them. The pulse will not destroy humans. It may strengthen them." But the council members were too focused on the operation to listen. They continued monitoring, adjusting parameters, and congratulating themselves on a job well done. Their confidence blinded them to the signs. On Earth, Amira began organizing teams. Scientists, engineers, and curious minds came together, sharing knowledge and solutions. They did not know the exact cause of the anomalies, but instinctively, they prepared for something big. Cities, farms, and laboratories worked in harmony to adapt to the changing world. Luca and other children noticed too. They explored forests and rivers, experimenting and observing the strange events around them. Their curiosity, bravery, and intuition allowed them to see patterns adults could not. Even in ordinary activities, humans were learning to work with the unseen forces affecting their world. By the end of the first cycle of the pulse, it became clear. Humanity was not only surviving but evolving. The small anomalies that had caused fear now revealed a larger truth. Humans were extraordinary. Every setback they faced, every challenge imposed by the Council's device, only highlighted their adaptability, intelligence, and resilience. "Doctor." Cairo smiled faintly, knowing that his warnings were coming true. "The Council pressed the button," he murmured. "They think humans are fragile, but humans are never fragile when their will is tested." On Earth, night fell. Cities sparkled under the stars, rivers reflected the moonlight, and humans rested, unaware of the cosmic struggle unfolding above them. Yet in every lab, every workshop, and every curious mind, the spark of awareness was growing. Humans were beginning to see their strength, even without knowing the full threat. The Council, confident and dismissive, had made their choice, but the pulse, designed to destroy, had instead awakened hidden potential. Humanity's journey had just begun. And far above, in his quiet corner, Dr. Cairo watched with hope. Humans were unpredictable, creative, and resilient. The Council's plan had failed before it even began. The Council was confident. The button had been pressed. The device, invisible to human eyes, sent out a precise pulse across Earth, designed to erase humanity completely. Delegates leaned forward in their seats, eyes shining with triumph. They were sure of victory. Dr. Cairo watched silently, a growing unease twisting in his stomach. He had warned them. He had told them humans were not ordinary, that their strength came not from technology alone, but from their will, their creativity, their ability to adapt. The pulse, he feared, might not work as intended. On Earth, at first, nothing seemed to happen. Cities buzzed with normal activity. Cars moved along streets. Lights flickered briefly, but everything continued as usual. Humans went about their lives, unaware of the cosmic event unfolding above them. The Council murmured with satisfaction. "Success," whispered Ambassador Trivon. "It is complete." But beneath the calm, subtle changes were already stirring. In remote farms, crops began to grow at an impossible pace, bending and twisting toward the sun as if they knew they must survive. In hospitals, patients recovered faster than science should allow. Machines began repairing themselves, as if responding to the energy of the pulse rather than breaking under it. Amira watched in shock from her lab. Her instruments, which were built to monitor ordinary electromagnetic signals, detected something extraordinary. The pulse was not destroying humans, it was interacting with them in ways no one had predicted. Ravi stared at the screens. "It's changing everything," he said. "But how it's supposed to destroy us?" Amira shook her head, feeling both awe and fear. "It's not destroying us, it's activating something, our survival instincts, our creativity, our potential." Across the globe, humans began to sense the changes in small ways. Farmers noticed the land producing more than it should. Engineers found themselves solving problems instantly, intuitively knowing the correct solution. Children, with their natural curiosity, discovered patterns in nature, building small devices that seemed to channel energy from the environment. Luca ran along the riverbank, watching the water move in strange, flowing patterns. Fish leapt in perfect synchrony, almost as if they were dancing. He marveled, amazed, and a little frightened. "Something is happening," he said aloud, unsure if anyone else would understand. In cities, ordinary humans began to adapt instinctively. Power grids stabilized themselves. Trains ran smoother than ever. Traffic lights coordinated without human programming. Humans were responding to the pulse, learning to survive and thrive in ways that no alien technology had accounted for. Back in the council chamber, confusion began to spread. Screens that had shown Earth's pulse impact now displayed unexpected data. Humans were alive. More than that, they were flourishing. Delegates shouted at one another, trying to understand the anomaly. "It is impossible," cried one. "The calculations are perfect." "No," Cairo said, stepping forward. His voice carried authority and urgency. "Your calculations assumed humans were ordinary. They are not. They adapt. They survive. You underestimated them." Ambassador Trivon's eyes narrowed. "Nonsense. The device will finish its work. They are just resilient, temporarily." But as the pulse continued, the Council could no longer ignore reality. Human resilience was growing stronger. Entire communities worked together to fix problems the pulse had created. Small inventions, spontaneous and ingenious, began to spread across continents. Humans were not panicking. They were thinking, creating, and responding. Amira realized the truth. "They're learning," she said to Ravi. "The pulse is a challenge, and we are adapting to it faster than anything predicted. It's like it's pushing us to evolve." Ravi swallowed hard. "So, we're winning," Amira hesitated. "I don't know about winning yet, but we are surviving. And that may be enough to change everything." In quiet towns and villages, ordinary humans discovered ways to work with the anomalies caused by the pulse. Farmers devised systems to guide water and energy naturally to crops. Engineers created devices that repaired machines using only intuition and observation. Children invented tools and methods without instruction, seemingly guided by instinct and curiosity. Humanity's latent potential was awakening. Even nature seemed to respond. Forests repaired themselves from minor damage. Rivers adjusted their flows to prevent flooding. Animals acted in harmony with humans, as if sensing the energy pulse and aligning with the people it affected. Cairo's heart lifted with cautious hope. "They are extraordinary," he whispered. "They survive not because of power or numbers, but because of will and intelligence." Meanwhile, the council scrambled. Delegates argued, pressed buttons, tried to amplify the pulse, but humans continued to adapt faster than their instruments could predict. Machines that should have failed repaired themselves instantly. Humans found solutions to problems they had never encountered before. Entire cities became resilient hubs, capable of withstanding the pulse's effects. In her lab, Amira organized groups across the planet. Scientists, engineers, and students collaborated in ways that no one had planned. They shared ideas instantly, building defenses, repairing infrastructure, and discovering new energy sources. Humanity's creativity, previously untapped on such a scale, became their greatest weapon. Luca, exploring the forests and rivers, discovered patterns in the wildlife. Birds, fish, and even plants seemed to move in ways that suggested communication. He realized that humans and nature were responding together to the pulse. The planet itself seemed to support them, as if acknowledging their determination to survive. On the council's observation screens, the aliens began to panic. "It's adapting," shouted a delegate. "They are resisting the pulse. It is impossible." Cairo remained calm, though his heart raced. "No, it is not impossible," he said. "It is human. You underestimated them. And that is your mistake." The council tried to send observation teams to Earth, hoping to understand what was happening. But every mission failed. Humans outsmarted them at every step, sometimes without even realizing it. They repaired ships, rerouted signals, and navigated obstacles using nothing but intuition and teamwork. Amira and her teams noticed the alien probes and used them to learn more about Earth's protective adaptations. Every failure of the Council's technology became a lesson, a stepping stone for humanity. The planet and its people were learning faster than the most advanced calculations could predict. By the end of the first full cycle of the pulse, humans were thriving in ways no alien had imagined. Cities were stabilized, crops flourished, and people were healthier and more capable than ever. Humanity was not just surviving, it was growing stronger. Cairo watched with a mix of pride and relief. The Council had acted out of fear and misunderstanding. Humans had survived against odds that should have destroyed them. Their ingenuity, cooperation, and resilience had turned a threat into an opportunity. Amira looked at the night sky, wondering how far the Council's reach had gone. She felt a quiet determination in her heart. "They thought they could erase us," she said softly, "but they underestimated what it means to be human." In cities and villages, people went about their lives, unaware of the full scope of the cosmic threat. Yet they were changing. They were learning to work together, to innovate, and to face challenges with courage and determination. The pulse had awakened something inside them, a spark of potential that no alien could extinguish. The Council, meanwhile, began to fracture under the weight of their failure. Some delegates argued to retreat and observe humans further. Others wanted to increase the pulse to try again. But the more they acted, the more humans adapted. Every measure the aliens took only highlighted humanity's unique strengths. Deep inside, Cairo knew the truth. Humans could not be predicted, controlled, or erased. Their resilience and creativity were their greatest weapons. The Council's fear had blinded them to the simple, undeniable fact: humans would survive no matter the odds. As Earth's night deepened, lights shimmered in cities and villages. People slept, dreamed, and planned for the days ahead, unaware of the cosmic forces that had tried to erase them. They were ordinary and extraordinary all at once, fragile in appearance but unstoppable in spirit. Cairo smiled faintly. Humanity had survived the first wave. They had adapted, grown stronger, and shown the Council that fear alone could not destroy them. The real journey was only beginning. And far above, in the Council chamber, delegates could only watch in disbelief as humans continued to thrive, defy expectations, and prove that their potential was far greater than anyone had imagined. The pulse had failed in ways the Council could not have imagined. Humans were not only alive, they were changing, adapting, and growing stronger. Cities and towns across the planet were no longer ordinary. Machines repaired themselves. Crops flourished in extreme conditions. People moved with purpose, discovering solutions that no algorithm could predict. Humanity was learning, evolving, and responding faster than any alien calculations could account for. Amira stood in her lab, surrounded by a team of scientists and engineers. Her eyes were wide with both fear and excitement. "We need to understand what's happening," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. "The pulse has changed us, and we cannot waste this opportunity. We must organize, adapt, and protect our planet." Her team nodded. Young scientists and experienced engineers began sharing ideas rapidly. They analyzed data from satellites, sensors, and instruments around the globe. Every strange anomaly became a clue. Every glitch in the systems became an opportunity to invent, to learn, and to create. The pulse had inadvertently pushed humans to become the best versions of themselves. In small villages, farmers adjusted irrigation systems instinctively, guided by new patterns they could sense in the soil and water. Crops grew in ways that defied old scientific rules. Rivers carved new paths naturally, distributing water efficiently. Humans were learning to work with nature, not against it, in harmony with the earth itself. In cities, engineers and technicians repaired infrastructure that should have failed. Bridges, power grids, and transportation systems adapted automatically. Streetlights coordinated themselves. Trains ran faster and smoother. Even hospitals began to operate more efficiently, as if guided by an invisible hand. Amira realized that the Council's pulse, meant to destroy, had inadvertently given humans an advantage. It had unlocked creativity, intelligence, and cooperation at levels previously unseen. Humans were no longer passive. They were active participants in shaping their survival. Meanwhile, Luca explored the forests and rivers near his home. He had discovered patterns in the animals and plants, subtle signals that guided his movements and decisions. Birds flew in organized formations, and fish darted in synchronized schools. Even the trees seemed to respond to human presence. He realized that nature itself was helping humanity adapt. One evening, Amira called a meeting with key teams around the world, connecting them through secure networks. "The Council believes they can control us," she said. "They are watching. They may try to interfere directly, but we are learning faster than they can predict. If we work together, we can turn their own technology against them." Ravi, standing beside her, looked worried. "Are we ready for that? Can humans really fight back against an interstellar council?" Amira smiled faintly. "We already are fighting back. Every day, every invention, every adaptation is our resistance. They cannot calculate our ingenuity. That is our strength." On the council's side, panic had begun to spread. Delegates shouted at each other as their calculations failed again and again. "The pulse should have eradicated them," one cried. "They are thriving. How is this possible?" Cairo, observing silently, shook his head. "You underestimated them," he said softly. "You do not understand humanity. Their greatest weapon is their mind, their will, their spirit. You cannot erase that with a button." Alien observation teams sent to Earth began reporting failures. Ships designed to study humans were blocked by clever inventions, rerouted by unpredictable solutions, or simply ignored as humans adapted naturally. Cities and towns seemed alive with innovation. Even small children were inventing devices and methods the aliens could not understand. Amira's team discovered one of these innovations. A small device, built by a group of students in a remote village, could detect alien signals and redirect them harmlessly. It was simple yet brilliant, and soon similar devices spread across the planet. Humans were using every resource at their disposal, and their coordination was growing by the hour. In factories, workers developed machines that could repair themselves and each other. Engineers discovered new ways to harness energy efficiently, reducing waste and increasing output. Entire cities were becoming hubs of innovation, each learning from the others. Humanity's ingenuity was no longer scattered. It was connected, powerful, unstoppable. Luca discovered another strange phenomenon. The animals of his region seemed to communicate through subtle signals, helping humans avoid dangers and find solutions. Birds guided him to safe paths, fish indicated the best water sources, and even insects behaved predictably in ways that aided human activities. Nature itself had become an ally. As the days passed, humans grew stronger, faster, and smarter in response to the Council's actions. Communities shared knowledge instantly, using both technology and intuition. Families, teachers, engineers, and children worked together naturally, learning from every small challenge. The pulse that was meant to destroy had instead accelerated human evolution. Back in the council chamber, desperation had replaced confidence. Delegates argued furiously, pressing buttons and changing parameters, but every measure failed. Every new attempt was countered by human adaptation. Cities repaired themselves. Farms thrived. Technology worked better than ever. Humans were proving that their creativity, willpower, and intelligence were beyond calculation. Cairo watched the chaos with a quiet sense of satisfaction. He had known humans were extraordinary, but even he was amazed by their speed and resourcefulness. "They are surviving," he whispered. "Not because of technology, not because of numbers, but because they refuse to be defeated. That is their power." Amira and her team realized it was time to prepare for more direct interference. "If the Council sends observers or weapons, we will need defenses," she said. "But we are ready. Humanity has already learned to survive, and now we can learn to protect ourselves actively." In small towns, ordinary humans began creating shelters and devices to protect against unknown threats. Engineers designed drones to monitor the skies. Farmers reinforced crops with creative irrigation and support systems. Children built simple but effective tools that helped communities respond quickly to changes. Humanity's response was instinctive, intelligent, and collaborative. Even ordinary daily life became a lesson in resilience. People adapted to small anomalies, solving problems quickly, teaching each other new methods, and spreading knowledge without hesitation. Humanity's greatest weapon was not a single invention. It was their ability to think, learn, and act together. The Council's interference only highlighted the human strengths. Every failed attempt by alien technology taught humans new ways to protect themselves and their planet. Cities became stronger. Communities became smarter. People became more aware of their abilities. Humanity was rising and the Council could not stop them. Cairo smiled as he observed the planet. "They are learning faster than we expected," he said, "and they will continue to grow. This is the way of humanity. You cannot erase a species that refuses to be erased." Amira looked at her team, her eyes shining with determination. "The Council thought they could erase us," she said. "They thought we were fragile, but they were wrong. We are human and we survive. We fight, and we will continue to fight together." In the forests and rivers, Luca noticed a new rhythm in nature. Birds, Fish and animals seemed to guide humans toward the safest paths, the best resources, and the most creative solutions. It was as if the planet itself was teaching humans how to survive. Across Earth, humans were no longer passive. They were active participants in shaping their own future. They were learning to defend, to adapt, to create, and to cooperate on a scale never seen before. Every day brought new challenges, and humans met each one with courage and ingenuity. The Council, meanwhile, could only watch in disbelief. Every calculation, every plan, every device they had relied on had failed. Humans were thriving. Humans were learning. Humans were becoming stronger, faster, smarter, and more resourceful. And far above, Dr. Cairo knew the truth. The Council had underestimated humanity at their own peril. The pulse had awakened something far greater than they imagined. Humanity's creativity, willpower, and resilience could not be destroyed. The stage was set. Humans had survived the pulse, learned to adapt, and were now ready to actively defend their planet. The Council had created their own challenge, and humanity had risen to meet it. The real battle, Cairo realized, was just beginning.